Please turn to page 129 for the Common Core Writing Whole Group Lessons. These lessons are systematic, direct instruction steps that you will follow in order to teach narrative, informative explanatory, or opinion writing. This section that we're going to go through today is just an overview of these lessons so that you understand where they fit in your program. First of all, let's look at kindergarten. Where do these whole group lessons fit into your program? Kinder, you will use the whole group lessons for your teacher write and interactive writing. Some teachers ask at the kinder level, why aren't we doing whole group lessons where kindergartners are going to be following the steps to make their own organizers? Well, it really doesn't work developmentally. To have kindergartners actually make organizers to plan their writing, that usually is very difficult, and the lessons end up just going crazy because developmentally it's just not appropriate for kindergartners. That's why we had our small group writing lessons. So remember, kinder, interactive writing, teacher write, this is where you're going to use these steps, and the teacher makes the organizers. The students are getting this picture of how to plan a story, how stories work using these stories, but they're not actually, when they go to write their own, making an organizer, just because developmentally that's too difficult for them. But if you have an entire year where you're modeling this and together they're making stories using an organizer, when they go to first grade, they will have so much background and experience with this, it's going to make it much easier at the first grade level for them to independently start using organizers. First grade teachers, when do you use the whole group lessons? First grade, you use your whole group lessons for the teacher write, interactive writing, as well as for instructional level writing. Now, first grade, I need to stop for just one moment to alert you that these whole group instructional level writing lessons will not work for you if you have a large number of students in your room who cannot independently write a sentence on their own. So at the instructional level, first grade teachers, you have to always look at, when I'm having my children write on their own, I'm either going to be working in small groups or teaching in whole group. Instructional level, if you're going to be working at the small group, it's because you have students, a large number of students, who cannot independently write one sentence. So at the beginning of the year, if that's the case, you need to pull those small groups so that you can pull those kids up to that, at least that level where they can write one sentence independently. Once most of your kids can write one sentence independently, then you want to go to the whole group model, where during that instructional time, everybody together is walking through these steps to learn how to independently write narratives, informative explanatory, or opinion papers on their own. Let's go through this chapter so that we can understand what these whole group lessons are. To begin, when we're talking about whole group lessons or writing period, we always want to start with, well, what is the process that a writer goes through when they write? The process that I use is what I call the plan and talk, punctuation time, and talk and write process. So basically it's the plan, talk, and write process that your children will use when they go to write any of their different types of papers. Let's talk about what we mean by that. Let's go down here to plan and talk. Well, first of all, if I'm writing a narrative, if I'm writing expository, informative, explanatory writing, or opinions, any of these genres, then I need to have a plan. And in order to have a plan, I need to first of all have some sort of an organizer. So the first thing you need is an organizer. And our organizer is going to be a plain piece of paper. And this paper is going to be legal size. So we need legal size paper. And what the students will be doing is they will be drawing their organizer on this plain piece of paper. You heard it right. You're not Xeroxing papers, organizers for students to fill in. They will make their own organizers. That's critical because you want them to be able to write anywhere, not just when you give them an organizer. So we're going to start with plain paper. And this plain paper is where they're going to draw their organizer and plan their ideas for their writing. Well, that's the next problem. When we go to plan, what happens? How do I fill in the organizer? What am I putting there? That's the difficult part for students. So what we need is we need to have specific steps that students follow. And these steps will help them draw their organizer as well as fill in their ideas and make sure that those ideas are formed so that they make sense. So now we're looking at making an organizer and following steps. Well, I can't keep at the same level with my children. And what I mean by that is this. I want to keep building the sophistication, the skills they need to learn all year long in all these different genres. So what I have is I have separate lessons where these lessons build as you go up in their understanding of how to write each genre. So once students master one lesson, they move to the next stage and the next stage. Hence, these lessons are called stages. And each grade level is assigned certain stages that they need to teach in order to reach and master their Common Core standards. So again, when we plan and talk, what do? We are going to make an organizer. And on that organizer, we are going to put all of our ideas in order. So how do I do that? I follow specific steps. When I follow these steps, once I master them, then I move to a new lesson. And that lesson will add more skills, making my writing more sophisticated. So the plan and talk part of our lessons is using an organizer, following steps. And these steps will increase in difficulty as you go up different stages. When we plan and talk, as we fill in our organizer, notice I keep saying the word talk, we're constantly orally rehearsing how we're going to write this information. So what I mean by that is we're not just going to say, oh, I'm going to write about this or that. We're actually going to rehearse how that writing will come out on our paper. When we talk, we're orally rehearsing academic language. And we keep rehearsing that language over and over again, changing the sentences, making them sound better, making sure they make sense. That's revising using academic oral language. So we plan and talk as part of our whole group lessons. Once our whole organizer is filled in, we have something called punctuation time. Too many times students go to write and they may write an entire paper with one capital and one stop, or no capitals or stops. So what happens is after they write their paper, we go back and try to show them where they need to put their capitals and stops, and it becomes very confusing because developmentally, that's very advanced for a child to understand once they've written all the text on a paper. So I've developed a unique little process, and once the students have finished their organizer, they actually go back and they're going to record where the capitals go as well as where the stops. And first grade teachers, later in the year, when students become even more advanced, we may even start putting commas in on our organizer. Once you have a paper where you've planned out your entire paper, it's filled, you've put your punctuation on that paper, now it's ready to transfer it to writing. Here's the next problem that happens when kids fill in an organizer. It's almost as if it's on their desk, and then what do? They go to write, and from memory, they're trying to write out what they had planned on their organizer. They don't refer back to it. So this, again, is really critical. This is called the talk and write. First of all, I have them have 3 rehearsals typically. And we've been rehearsing this paper all through the planning process. But once it's completed, I have them go back and rehearse it 3 times. So they orally rehearse how they're going to write it. And again, more revising, because as they say it, they can make the sentences even better. They rehearse it. So we're rehearsing, rehearsing, rehearsing. And once students can say their paper, so now they have that fluency, then they're going to be able to go to the writing. When they write, I want them to continue with the talking. So they need to refer back to their organizer, rehearse a section, go to their paper, write it out. And as they write, keep talking. This does two things. It really makes students go back to their paper so they constantly use their organizer in order to write out their information. They're not just doing it from memory. It also makes them constantly reread, and that's another problem youngsters have. They tend to write, but they don't go back and reread. And rereading is critical for writing to be cohesive and coherent. We're going to go and look at this again. We plan and talk. What do we do when we plan? We're following systematic steps in these stages of writing. We constantly talk, and that talk is that academic talk, how we're going to write it, so we can keep revising. After we fill in our entire plan, our organizer, what do? We add our punctuation. And finally, we're going to write out our papers, and when we do that, we continue with the talking. And what does that do? That forces us to use our organizer as well as constantly reread our writing. On the next page, the facing page, you have a nice little chart here. Now, one of the things that I used to do was I used to get a clothespin, and I would put the clothespin on my plan and talk different parts of our writing process that we were in. So I would have the clothespin here and say, boys and girls, we're going to be planning and talking our paper. Let's get out our plain piece of paper and let's plan our organizer and orally rehearse it, following the steps. Once we finish our organizers, then I would move my clip down to the punctuation time and finally to the talk and write.